Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Leslie.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon. Here. Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Your motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Is there any discussion?
Yes. Judge,
Magistrate Likens.
we would like to add a item for the Grants Committee recommendations. I don't know what to put it under.
All right, we'll put those under, how about under item F? We'll make that F
Okay.
dot one.
Thank you.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
we'd like to bring to court a recommendation on the marijuana issue. Anywhere you'd like to put that?
All right, how about if we make that item F, subsection 2? Any other additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. All right, I'm going to ask our clerk now, Sheila Fair. Each meeting, we read the minutes from the last meeting to review those for the magistrates and also the members of the community, those present and those viewing the program on Channel 184. So, Ms. Fair, please go ahead.
Do you want to do that before the special meeting dates?
I guess we can.
Okay. May 1st, 2018. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with County Attorney John Carter and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Bob Leslie, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Kevin Eldridge, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Judge Executive Vogel was absent. In Judge Vogel's absence, Magistrate Greenwell served as meeting chairman. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the agenda, removing 2 items, waste hire grant and resolution for Kentucky Office of Homeland Security project. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the meeting minutes of April 17th. Motion carried 7-0-1. Magistrate Leslie abstained. Public comment. J.D. Sparks, 2823 Hollow Oak Drive, Crestwood, introduced himself, stated he is a candidate for Oldham County Circuit Court Clerk, and encouraged everyone to get out and vote May 22nd. Keith Hadley, co-founder of Kentucky Smoke-Free Association, Louisville, and Jason Underwood, 3301 Trinity Road, Louisville, lawyer and lobbyist for KSFA, spoke to the court regarding concerns with the revised smoking ordinance recently adopted, requesting consideration of an amendment exempting vape products and shops. Amanda Booker, 469 Stone Creek in Lexington, with Kentucky Center for Smoke-Free Policy at University of Kentucky, spoke to the court regarding the recently adopted smoking ordinance and concerns with allowing exemptions for vape products and shops. Fiscal Court members invited Mr. Hadley and Mr. Underwood to attend the Safety Committee meeting June 5th to present proposed changes to the committee for consideration. Bid opening for the building demolition at 1512 Riverside Drive. The following sealed bids for the building demolition project at 1512 Riverside Drive were open and read aloud for the record. Cardinal Demolition, $22,500, plus $5,000 for septic removal. Complete Demolition, $14,700. Franklin and Leonard, $19,480. Hanka LLC, $23,500. Hedges Demolition, $22,295. TNC Excavating, $9,800. County Administration, payables. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Surplus property. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Dye to declare surplus the listed county property, various vehicles, with intent to sell at public auction. Motion carried unanimously. Community business. First reading of the budget for fiscal year 18-19. Chief Financial Officer Stan Clark presented for first reading proposed ordinance relating to the annual budget and appropriations for fiscal year 2018-19. The second reading public hearing will be June 5th. Contract agreements and resolutions. Court facilities local government reimbursement form. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Dye to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the court facilities local government reimbursement form. Motion carried 7-1. Magistrate Dye voted no. Resolution for the annual transportation of non-public school students. Motion made by Magistrate Helms and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to authorize the Judge Executive to sign Resolution Number 01050118 relating to reimbursement of transportation costs for parochial school students. Motion carried unanimously. Donation of land. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to accept the land donation from Oldham County Industrial Park, LLC, relating to the Buckner Connector Commerce Parkway Extension Project, and authorize the Judge Executive to sign the deed. Motion carried unanimously. Committee reports and recommendations. Road Committee. Motion made by Magistrate Helms and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $8,400 erosion control bond relating to Camden Woods Phase 3. Motion carried unanimously. HR Committee. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Dye to approve the job description for Administrative Assistant 2 for Planning and Development. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions. Planning and Development. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Helms to accept the resignation of Ethel Fox effective May 1st, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Parks and Recreation. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Helms to approve the attached list of 2018 Aquatic Center seasonal staff effective May 7th, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Oldham County Aquatic Center still needs to fill several positions at the pool this summer. Bid award for the demolition project. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to award the building demolition project at 1512 Riverside Drive Prospect to TNC Excavating for $9,800 and authorize the Judge Executive to sign the service agreement. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment, none. Announcements. Magistrate Logsdon provided an update on the KYTC project at Highway 329-146. It's moving along. Sidewalks are currently going in. Magistrate Dye attended the opening of Maples Park in Crestwood. He announced KYTC is hosting a public meeting May 8th at Ascension Lutheran Church from 5 to 7 regarding the Interstate 265 widening project. Magistrate Eldridge stated another red flag home, 7901 Old Zaring Road, the old Brownsboro Automotive Shop, will be sold at a foreclosure sale May 29th at Oldham County Courthouse. Magistrate Helms announced the open burn ban begins today, May 1st, through September 30th. Open burning is prohibited in Oldham County. Magistrate Leslie announced May 22nd is primary election day and urges everyone to vote. Magistrate Lincoln shared his concerns relating to a portion of Rose Island Road on Jefferson County side being torn up by utility company, a road that was paved just last fall. Magistrate Greenwell announced May 3rd is National Day of Prayer. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Helms to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 3:00 p.m.
Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Or, I mean, the minutes. Okay. Any discussion on that?
Yes, Judge.
Magistrate Leslie?
Yes, I made a mistake in stating June 5th was Safety Committee meeting. It should be June 19th at noon, 12 noon.
Any other corrections? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. That's me. Thank you. Time now for public comment. No, we'll go back, and we were going to change the dates of our meeting here, next couple of meetings. We're referring, I believe, to the meeting at the end of June. We're going to add a special meeting on the 28th, correct? Everybody agree to that? That's a Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. That would replace the meeting on July 3rd. Of course, everybody knows what the 4th is, and many people take a long weekend holiday there. So, and then we would resume our regular schedule of the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays of each month, resume that on the 17th of July. Is there a motion to make that change?
Second.
Discussion, Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. On the 28th, we have a joint magistrates and county judge meeting. I think it's in Lexington this year. How are we going to?
Well, that's why I set that for 9 o'clock, so we could.
Then the general session.
Essentially, the 9 o'clock meeting would just be to pay the bills that are left for the remainder of the current fiscal year. That would be a pretty fast turnaround. Not much other business would be expected for that day. Then we'd have to all get in our cars and go to Lexington. And most of the time, the actual session, I don't think really kicks off till 1 o'clock.
Starts at 9 that morning.
9 that morning?
Yes.
Okay, so, All right, we can back it up a day and pay these. The Finance Department have a problem with paying on the Wednesday, the 27th?
Afternoon or morning?
Your choice. Okay, all right. How is that,
That's fine with me.
all right with everyone else?
If the other magistrates are in agreement, I mean,
I'm fine with
I
that.
just think we wouldn't be in as much of a rush the next morning. Excuse me?
Yes, how would that be? Everybody all right with that? 27th at 2? All right. Magistrate Likens?
And obviously, Judge, this is a special meeting, so you will have to have your agenda items in and on for that particular meeting.
Right. All special called meetings are posted 24 hours in advance, and the items to be discussed on that day are also posted with the notice. As I mentioned, we would just really expect the bills to be paid that day. Might be something else pop up, but it's unlikely. All right, so are you willing to redo your motion? Okay. All right, so we meet on the 27th at 2 p.m. and then again on July 17th at our regular time. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Motion carries. Time now for public comment. That's the time during our meeting when we invite those who have come here who would like to address the fiscal court. You're able to do so. You'd have up to 4 minutes to speak about any topic of community interest or individual concern that you'd like to bring before the fiscal court. Okay, come forward. We ask everybody to state their name and address.
Good morning. My name is J.D. Sparks, candidate for Circuit Court Clerk. My address is 2823 Hollow Oak Drive, Crestwood, Kentucky. Thank you for the time to speak today. I want to thank all the citizens I've visited across the county in the last few months. Meeting you and talking to you, learning your concerns is my favorite part of politics. As many of you know, I'm not your average politician. In fact, I don't think of myself as one. I see myself as an average citizen, and I ask questions from the point of view of the citizens. This is how I will run the Circuit Court Clerk's office. I will ask, is this the level of service I expect? I will view everything in our operations with the customer, you, as the priority, not the special interests. From my time as a Marine, a magistrate, as division director appointed by Governor Bevin in Frankfort, to my grassroots efforts as our local GOP vice chair, and additionally as a senior leader in civilian industry like Toyota and Microsoft, I will bring service that questions the status quo. I'm asking for your vote on May 22nd. Please vote J.D. Sparks for Circuit Court Clerk. We need a change. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address fiscal court today?
Hi,
Oh,
good to see you again. Can I move this mouse here?
I ask you to state your name and address.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm Stephanie Hawkins, 5107 Ridgecrest, and I am here today. I'm happy to be here. Hi, magistrates. Hi, Judge again. I want to tell you my name. My name is Stephanie Hawkins. I'm running for magistrate for District 6, Fiscal Court, right here to be where you all are. I want to tell the people watching a little bit about myself. I am a Christian. I'm conservative, fiscally conservative, and socially conservative. I'm a veteran of foreign war. I served in Desert Storm during Operation Southern Watch and Desert Storm. And I wanted to say a little bit more about that. Going overseas during a conflict time, or even post-conflict, I had to deal a lot with various people from various countries, including the Saudi Arabia natives that were there. And in my flight, I was the only female. And I want the viewers to know that I am tough. I can handle this job if elected, and I would be happy to do that. I also want to say that my husband and I are a small business owner. We've owned our business for 21 years. We started it from the ground up with nothing. I could take 4 minutes just to talk about that, the ups and downs of that. So, and in our business, we have to be creative. We have a creative business here in Oldham County. I am responsible fiscally for that business, in part with other people who are our CFO. And but before we had him, I mean, it was all John and myself. Another thing I wanted to point out in the business that we are in is we are a creative company. We have creative vision, and we do that, and people pay us to go all over the country to be creative for their brand. So for example, our brand here in Oldham County is quietly amazing, but it's starting to not feel so quietly amazing. We're losing our charm, we're losing our ambiance, we're losing our rolling hills. You all just passed recently 6-story commercial buildings to be able to be built in our sweet, quietly amazing county. And one thing that I would do is I would reverse that before, I would propose to reverse that and argue to reverse that, because I don't think that 6-story commercial buildings is in line with our quietly amazing charm and our ambiance. And I'd like to take care of the people who currently live here first. I wanted to just tell you that I will be an accurate voice. I have loved knocking on everybody's door who I've knocked on and meeting the constituents in District 6. I would be honored to have your all's vote on May 22nd. I wanted to again state my name. It's Stephanie Hawkins. I'm running for Magistrate District 6 here in Fiscal Court to help plan for the future of our county. A website is VoteSteph, VoteSteph.com, and my Facebook page is VoteSteph1, VoteSteph1, and I want the constituents to know that I will always be available, always, even on a Sunday afternoon. So I want you all to know that, and I would be honored and grateful and humbled to have the constituents vote on May 22nd. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, magistrates.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court at this point? Seeing no one, I'm going to close our open comment session and go on to the first item on our agenda here, and that is a History Center presentation. I believe Terry Miller is here today from the History Center. Okay.
I didn't know, will this broadcast whatever laid on here?
Yes,
Okay.
just lay it down, face up like that.
Is there a certain way? All right. See if it's upside down. No, okay, here, let's straighten it. There. Okay, good afternoon, I'm Terry Miller. I'm on the board of the Oldham County Historical Society, and I have the honor to serve as the chairperson for our campus renovation project. I'm here today to give you an update on the History Center and the campus project. I'm pleased to report that most of the repairs and updates to our structures are completed. This includes the extensive repairs and the updated exhibits in our Peyton Samuel Head Family Museum, which reopened in January of 2007. The J.C. Barnett Library and Archives and the Rob Morris Educational Building have had repairs done and painting. Much of this work was done by workforce from the Kentucky State Reformatory and the Rotorua Correctional Complex. We've also finished our paved walkways, which allow access throughout the site for the visitors to the campus. The campus lighting will be installed in the month of June, and following that will be the landscape for the campus. We added 2 significant items to this project, and that's the Dahlgren Pioneer Barn, as well as the Road Warrior sculpture. The Dahlgren Barn is located along 3rd Street and will have walk-through access to the campus. It features a cut stone fireplace and chimney that we'll be using for demonstration cooking. The barn is planned to be opened in within a month, and we also will have additional exhibit space and event space with the barn. The other item is the Road Warrior sculpture, and this will be located at the corner of 2nd and Jefferson Street, just outside of the museum. The Road Warrior will honor Dr. Bruce Heilman and World War II veterans. The bronze sculpture is being created by Wyatt Craig and will feature Dr. Heilman on his Marine issue Harley-Davidson motorcycle. The statue will allow visitors to hop on, and it will be installed in 2019. Since we began this project, the J.C. Barnett Library and Archives has been designated as a facility on the National Park Service National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom. Also, the Gatewood Plantation in Trimble County has been designated as a site for the National Underground Railroad. This is a pretty big achievement since there are only 12 such sites, programs, and facilities in the state of Kentucky. Our archives is one of 2 such facilities, and the Gatewood Plantation, where we do our archaeological programs, is only one of 4 such sites throughout the state. In April this year, we installed a Kentucky historical marker for the James and Amanda Mount home. This is located at our 2nd Street entrance to the campus. The marker, the James and Amanda Mount House serves as our library, archives, and office building. We also, since 2015, have been awarded 2 education awards from the Kentucky Historical Society for our archives and for the World War II exhibit that we have. These recognitions and awards, in addition to the increasing number of tour groups and educational opportunities that we provide, are just some of the examples of the ways we're reaching out to local residents as well as bringing tourists to the community. The History Center originally had a goal of $2 million for this project. At this time, I expect the project to be completed at 3% under budget. And if you take into account that we added the Dahlgren Pioneer Barn and the $200,000 Road Warrior sculpture, we will actually be 18% under the estimated budget for the original scope of the project. We couldn't have done this without support of community, so I want to thank our donors, our members and volunteers, Fiscal Court, the City of LaGrange, Rotary Correctional Complex, Kentucky State Reformatory, our local contractors, as well as the community as a whole, which has been really receptive to this project. We still have $237,000 to raise. There's a number of ways to help. In addition to just making donations to the campaign, we have a Pay the Way fundraiser, which is a donor brick campaign. Those forms can be picked up at the archives, or you can go online to order a brick for the campus. The other item is we've established a GoFundMe account specifically for the Road Warrior sculpture. Currently, it's a $200,000 sculpture. We raised $50,000 of that. That can be, those donations can be made online, or you can make a donation directly to the History Center. I want to thank you for your time today, and I think this is a project that we can be proud of as a community as a whole. Thank you.
Terry, thank you. Any member of the court have a question? Magistrate Likens?
Thank you. Can you give that information about the bricks again?
Oh, for the donor bricks? If the forms are in the office, which is the archives building, or you can go online. It's Polar Engraving, and you would search for for Oldham County History Center.
Okay.
Or on our Facebook page, there's some links as well if you can find the postings on that.
Okay. Thank you.
So we've had good response. We have about 55 bricks in. We have another 36 coming. We've had really good response to that.
Right, the hardscape and layout of the History Center and grounds is really coming along beautifully.
We're excited.
Toured the other day, really was impressed with everything I found, and the new barn that's been built with the, I guess you'd call it Pioneer or Historical
Dahlgren
Oven.
Pioneer
It was
Oven.
really cool, and the brickwork, everything looks really great. So
Cool.
appreciate all the work that you and the others of your group have done. So
Thank you.
thank you, Terry. The next item on our agenda today is a report from the Oldham County Police. We ask Chief Smith to come by each year and bring us up to date as a community on the activities of our police department. Each year he focuses on something slightly different than the year before to cover the broad scope of the activities our police are engaged in. So Chief Smith, welcome.
Okay, as you said, this is our 2017 annual report for the police department. A quick overview, excuse me, of our police department. We have 32 sworn police officers. We have 3 full-time administrative civilian personnel. They are, like I said, full-time. The positions are myself, 2 majors, and we have 4 sergeants, 4 detectives, and 21 police officers. And authorized strength has been the same since 2005. Our budget for this particular fiscal year, our budget is $4.2 million. As with most agencies, our personnel cost is the most expensive. It's at $3.3 million. It's because it is very expensive to hire police officers. Our deployment, the first shift in the morning, we start at 7, end at 3 p.m. It consists of 1 sergeant and 5 officers. Now, in this particular, on all shifts, we have what's called minimum staffing. Basically, that's the fewest number of officers that we will allow to work any one shift. And all of them have that minimum staffing. Second shift is 3 to 11, 1 sergeant, 8 officers. Excuse me. Third shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. That's 1 sergeant and 5 officers. And again, this minimum staffing is 2 for day work, 3 for the afternoon, and 2 for night shift. Our detective bureau, they have flexible hours. They really have the flexibility to do what any investigation they need to do and work the hours according to that. We have 1 sergeant assigned with 4 detectives. We have 3 school resource officers. This is a joint financial partnership with the Oldham County Board of Education. They actually pay for 2 and we pay for 1. In 2017, when you look at minimum staffing, 36% of the time we were at minimum staffing. That may seem like a large number, but in 2017 we had vacancies which affect our staffing. We have a lot of hours of training that we go through and vacations and sicknesses like anything else, but in 2017 we were a little short at times. In 2017, we drove our cars 445,907 miles. We put on the vehicles in our fleet. When you look at dispatch calls, the current CAD system that we have, when we ask dispatch to give us the total number of dispatch calls, the current CAD system will only give us the primary car. It won't give us a secondary car or a backup car. Because in a lot of runs, they require a 2-unit dispatch. So in addition to the 13,538 calls that we responded to through dispatch, 2,528 of those require a 2 police unit. That's not reflected in that 13,000. So when you add those 2 together, the dispatch runs actually increased considerably. Now I just listed some that were the most common that we respond to. Obviously, vehicle collisions are a lot, and quite frankly, they are increasing in the county. Burglary responses, I mean, you can go down the list and take a look at them. There are some that concern us. We are getting more disorder runs. They're increasing. We're getting domestic violence runs. They're somewhat increasing. And the bottom number, in the left-hand column, suicides, you see 121. For some reason, they're increasing. 41 were actually suicides. The rest of them are either threats or attempts. But they're very time-consuming for us when we make those runs because there are a lot you have to do in a situation like this. But these are just some examples of the number of runs we get, the most common number of runs that we get. The JC3s actually is a report the state requires for certain offenses. Domestic violence, crimes against the elderly, crimes against children, child abuse, and we fill one of those out. These numbers in this pie chart, they only reflect the 299 runs that we responded to for domestic violence. And it's concerning to us because when you look at that, in 27% of them, there's either alcohol or drugs involved. And more concerning is about 1 out of 4 with weapons involved, 23% there's a weapon involved. That's a run where we always send 2 officers, and some occasions we'll send 3. So, and it is a very time-consuming run for us because it's a lot of times it'll end up in an arrest or removal of a person from a home that we have to. So it's kind of time-consuming. And what's also concerning is that 31% of the time there are children present. And when we go into a situation like that, we have to handle. We have to handle not only the incident between the offenders, but the children. So it's just difficult for the officers. Our response activity, for the overall response for all of our runs, it's 11 minutes and 15 seconds. The highest priority response average is 7 minutes and 26 seconds. Our average time unseen for all runs is 34 minutes and 9 seconds. And then our average time unseen for the highest priority runs is 44 minutes and 27 seconds. Now that's time unseen. When you look at this chart, like for auto crash with injuries, in 14 seconds we are dispatched. Dispatch does an excellent job getting that information out to us. Our arrival scene is usually around 6 minutes, and then we're on scene for about 56 minutes. So every time an injury accident comes out, the cars are tied up for over an hour, and the average over an hour for an injury accident. Robbery in progress, domestic violence, for example, is another one we respond to quickly, 22 seconds. Again, this dispatch does an excellent job in getting the information out quickly, but usually about 9 minutes to get there, and then about 42 minutes on scene. Now, what is also increasing is shoplifter reports. We are getting more shoplifter runs. And when you take a look at this chart, and every time we get a shoplifter run, we're tied up for about an hour. It takes almost an hour to process that and get finished. Now, the response times, when I look at this and I try to figure out, our response time, can we increase it? It's very difficult to increase these response times when at 36% of the time in 2017 we were at minimums. Because if we only have 2 cars out or 3 cars out, they may be coming from a distance. So that distance is increasing that response time. Now, we'll say this, I think our officers do an excellent job, and I can't be more proud of them for what they do, but some of these things work against us because, the runs are increasing and the difficulties of some of what we're seeing is increasing. E-calls. An e-call is a self-initiated run by the officer. We started really increasing this within the last 4 or 5 years. In 2017, the officers made 22,435 self-initiated activities. Now, that could be anything. A neighborhood check, we do have problems at nighttime with thefts out of cars. That's one of the problems, and one of our major crime problems that we have. We ask them to go through the neighborhoods, be in the neighborhoods, and document when they are in these neighborhoods. So we can tell when we go to do community relations things, we can tell them exactly how many times we came through the neighborhoods. We can tell them what times we came through the neighborhoods. And plus, it's good visibility for anyone out there trying to steal. Business checks are just that. We routinely go by and check on businesses. And every time we do that, they document the business and time and the place they were in, what place they were where they checked on. Vacation checks, that's a program we have in the police department. Someone's going on vacation, we encourage them to call us, let us know when you leave and when you're coming back, and we will check your house. And another thing, traffic complaints, welfare checks, and we do assist a lot. We do a lot of assisting with other agencies. But those are mainly self-initiated activities by the officers. Now, there's a whole list of other ones, but those are the primary ones. Additionally, our requests for service, they are increasing exponentially. We get more requests today on the average than we have in a long time. We probably average anywhere from 200 to 250 requests per month for extra services. And basically what these are patrol this area, patrol that area, speeding on 329, all these things come in all the time, and suspicious cars at nighttime. Well, those requests for services translate into an e-call. Because when we get those, we put them out to the officers, and we tell the officers, check on this location that this came in. So we're constantly feeding them with information about these additional requests for services. And it works well. Our biggest crime problems are thefts and burglaries. Nighttime thefts from cars are probably our biggest crime issue. Daytime burglaries are a problem. I already talked a little bit about the JC3s. In 2017, we made 507 arrests total. Traffic citations, 3,240. I know from time to time we get accused of writing a lot of tickets. But when you break that down, that's about 9 per day, 3 per shifts. That's not a lot for any agency. Most times, when you look at the percentage of the time we stop a car to how many times we write a ticket, it's around 40%. 40% of the time we stop a car, we give a ticket. 60% of the time they go with a warning. And I can tell you can talk yourself out of a ticket, but you can also talk yourself into one too. So I tell people all the time, when the police pull you over, just be honest. Just say, I didn't mean to speed, I didn't do anything, So we try to work with them best we can. Courtesy notices, 2,100, that's about 6 per day that we give. Supplemental reports are primarily from the detectives on cases that they follow up on. We have 4 detectives. I think they do an excellent job with the caseload that they have. Cases today, it seems like every one they pick up, there's some kind of electronic component to it. a phone, a computer, or a laptop, something. There's always some kind of thing we have to get checked out with that, so it takes more time. All of our reports combined, when you look at all of them combined, the ones that require an incident number, which means that we are making a report to the state of something we did, it's a little over 2,800, almost 2,900, and that's a lot. That's a lot for our agency. The school resource officers, they keep a monthly activity sheet about their activities. In 2017, they had 7,385 different contacts within the schools. It could be with parents, with teachers, counselors, or just anything. And they keep pretty good contact on that. I think they do an excellent job. Our traffic collisions, the reports that we actually took, the first chart showed about 1,085 collisions. We do not take a report on all collisions. A lot of times we give out state forms. If it's during the winter, an ice storm, snowstorm, minor damage, we'll give out state forms. And private property, minor damage, we don't take a report. The ones that we did, 895 accidents were taken by our division. We had 152 injury accidents with 212 people hurt. And we had 4 fatalities last year. Now this is just a list of our most problem areas when it comes to accidents. And by far, Interstate 71 is the worst, north and south. They take up a lot. There's well over 200. And 146 is the next issue. I mean, it's, and when you look at these streets, primarily most of them are 2-lane roads. You know, and we have a lot of side swipes, we have a lot of rear-end collisions. You know, we have a lot of that, but this is how they break down. On the surface street, other than Expressway, 146 is our biggest problem, followed by 22. But that's kind of how they break down. And like I say, by far, Interstate 71 is the issue. Other activities, we average about 4,500 hours a year in training. It's a lot, but you know, we do have mandatory in-service training. We all go through 40 hours of training every year. We have a firearms training. SRT is our special response team. They train and other type of training. It seems like we're always looking for something to expand our knowledge or our capabilities on, and I'm a big proponent of training. If I see something out there that'll benefit our officers and benefit the community, I think we should do it. We do have a pretty active drug take-back program. We got some boxes in the police department that people come by and routinely drop off drugs. Last year we took in 46 pounds in those boxes. We partner with the sheriffs to do an annual take-back twice a year. And last year, 606 pounds of pills and miscellaneous everything came in. That's quite a bit. Our false alarms for the entire county last year was 740. We responded to 650 of those, about 88%. Sheriffs would respond to some. That's something we responded to. And that is the lowest total that we responded to since we started the false alarm ordinance. That's the lowest total. If you remember, the very first year was over 900. So we've consistently got that down pretty good. 9 event permits we worked last year. And to date, right now, we have 31 ABC licenses that fall underneath our county ordinance, 31. There are more than that in the county, but there's only 31 that fall underneath our ordinance. And that's it.
All right, Chief, thank you. Does anybody have any questions like to address, Chief? Magistrate Likens?
Thank you. Chief Smith, you do an excellent job. What are our future needs in the county that you see for officers? I know you've been here for about 80 years now.
You know, it sure seems like
I don't know what we started with 8 years ago.
We know
when you started.
I guess there's 2 points that I would point out to you. First of all is personnel costs. I mean, we know hiring police costs a lot of money. You know, we have $4.2 million in our budget, 3.3 goes to personnel costs. I think in retirement alone, in this particular budget, it was like $662,000 for just retirement costs. So we know it's expensive. But when you also take a look at how many times our shifts were at minimum staffing and the increased demands that we are asked to do, I think it's getting close to taking a look at adding some more police officers, particularly on the 3-11 shift and 11-7 shift. Now that could be, you could offset that some ways. You know, usually in day work, if we're at minimum staffing, it's not the most critical thing because the majors are out and Tracy and Neil, they still like to get out and make runs. It's good for them too. I'm too old. You know, but everybody gets down and work different things. You know, the detectives primarily work day work too, so day work's not too much of a problem. Where we seem to run into our biggest issue is 3 to 11 and 11 to 7. And like I say, when we're at minimum staffings, if an officer is at one end of the county and has to go to the other county, that's why we have 11 minutes or so response time, because we're just pretty far off. And the other thing I would add to this question is we are having more development in the county. I mean, we got some major development going on in the county. It's going to bring in more people. And I just think it's time with all of that, it's probably time to start looking at maybe adding some people.
One of the reasons that I get most of my calls is people complain that there are not enough police people patrolling. And when you look at your numbers, 2 or 3 officers in the whole county is spread pretty thin.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, last year I think was the exception. The year before that, I think we were at 32% at minimums. But the last couple of years, we had vacancy. We got vacancy right now that hopefully we'll fill today. If the court finds it in our favor to vote for this guy, and I hope you do. But we have a guy, you know, and we'll be back at full contingent of officers. But when you look at some of these runs, it doesn't take long to tie up a couple police officers. And the time unseen, I thought was important because it shows you just how long that, like a shoplifter, I mean, an officer's out of commission for an hour on a shoplifting run. And they are increasing. We're getting more shoplifting runs. These calls for suicides are increasing for some reason or another. 121 last year, only 41 completed, but yet that ties up an officer for a long time, especially if they take a mental inquest warrant. It takes a long time. So because of the duration and the time limits of some of the runs that were going on, it's making it a little bit more difficult for the officers. But I tell you, I give them all the credit in the world. They are really a good bunch. They're working very hard. But
Thank you for your dedication.
in answering your question, I think it's probably time to start looking. But believe me, I'm painfully aware of the cost of what it takes to hire police officers. It's expensive.
Personnel-wise, it costs about $100,000 a year for each officer we have on the street, so.
Actually, the startup cost would even be higher because you have to buy a car and equipment and all that, so it's expensive.
Right, well, I was just dividing personnel by number of cost of the salaries by the number of people we have. We provide other things besides salaries, the equipment, cars, whatnot, so. The other point I want to make, and I'll let Chris have it next year, is that it's easy to tie up 2 or 3 officers we have all these traffic accidents on 71. We've tried to address them as much as we can. We had about 275 accidents out there last year. LaGrange handles some, state police might be involved in some, but by far Oldham County Police are the main agency out there, and it always takes at least 2 people. When somebody has a false alarm, their burglar alarm goes off, 2 people will respond to the situation. It ties up people. You had almost 800 false alarms. We've tried to knock that down from previous years, and we did pass an ordinance that for those who just won't get their alarm systems fixed, you get, I think it's if you're on your 3rd call or so, you can get a small fine. Because we have to get your attention. We just can't tie up people in time responding to events that aren't really serious. So our people have done a great job. And
Thank you, sir.
I do want to mention before it slips my mind that tonight at LaGrange Baptist Church, 7 p.m., we have our annual police officers memorial service for all the police who have died in the line of action across the country. It's basically a very sad service when you get right down to it, but we're proud of all our officers that put themselves out each day, and our sheriff's deputies. And so I mention this now because if you're happen to be watching this on television right now, you can come tonight, but if you see it tomorrow, it'll be too late. So that's tonight at 7. Magistrate Hounds.
Chief, thanks for the report. First off, is there any upcoming technology that we need to be looking at that might help us with some of these statistics?
You know, there is, but not so much with the police department. I think with dispatch. I know there is a new CAD system that dispatch is currently looking at, and I believe it is built into our budgets this year to hopefully get that. You know, when you take a look at our runs, 13,538, that's only the initial car that got to run. If you pull out the run sheet, there may be 2-3 other cars on there that also responded to that. We can't track those unless we look at every run sheet and literally count those. The new system that they're proposing for dispatch, you can write a program to do that. So I can tell you in the community more accurately just exactly how many cars are dispatched to runs. Because that 2528 was a hand count that I did. Once I got the printout, I went through every one of them and counted how many times we had multiple cars sent to a location. So new CAD system, I think would be great. The radio systems that we're looking at, the digital radio systems, I think we are testing some now. And I think that's going to be a huge plus. It's expensive, but it's a huge plus for and safety for the officers. Because there's some areas in the county right now that there are just not really good areas to transmit from.
I will commend you in being on the fire service for the last 28 years. I've worked with a lot of officers, and the group that's out there now, I'll agree with you. They are very good. And you know, I only get to see them typically at a time of need. It's not, you know, any other time. Every once in a while at a restaurant or something, but and mostly injury accidents and unfortunately some of the suicide attempts and that. And they do an excellent job. And it's a very difficult situation. Like you and I were talking earlier. Some days it's not that bad, and other days it's like, wow, could it get any worse? Yeah. And they do a great job. And please pass that on to them.
Thank you. You know, the reference that the judge made earlier about an accident on 71. The last major one we had was April 20th, 3 semis and a car. And I made that run that day, and I counted 16 different officers we had working that day. And we called in from home, and we called them in and said we need help. And they dropped everything they were doing, and they came in. So it speaks well for the officers. Speaks very well for them.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Thank you, Judge. Again, I'd echo everybody else and thank you for all the work you do. What do you think is causing the major problem on the interstates?
Speed and inattention. You know, I don't know what the problem is when you go past 14 going southbound into Louisville. Because that curve right there, you kind of go down to 14 and you go back up the other side. We have a lot of accidents there, and quite frankly, I don't know what the cause is there. I just think it's inattention, quite frankly. In more than one, yeah, cell phones, I agree. Cell phones is probably a big issue of it, and speed's an issue. I mean, we could go up an interstate every day and write a dozen tickets per shift, but we just don't have the personnel to do that. We know we need to, and honestly, we have a federal overtime grant, and we can use that grant to relocate our officers in areas where they're needed, and we do that. And I-71 is one of those we work. But I just think of speed, inattention, tailgating, cutting traffic. I mean, I just think put all those things together and it's a bad combination.
We often think that when we get the interstate widened, that's going to be the silver bullet that's going to take care of all of that. But as you know from being out on the interstate all the time, and I being out there sometimes in larger trucks, you see everything from newspapers across the steering wheels, laptops on the steering wheels. Passed a guy last week that was eating a bowl of macaroni and cheese and steering with his knee, running 70 miles an hour. The state of Georgia has just passed a law where they're not going to let people be on the cell phone in cars or hold the cell phone with any part of their body. They'll no longer be able to cradle it on their shoulder and lean their head over or do any other trick. It's all going to have to be Bluetooth or nothing. So do you think if Kentucky went to that length that would help?
I think, yeah, I do think it would help.
I think so too.
I can't tell you how many times you're looking at someone that got their phone up, got it down, got it up, got it down, and they're either texting or reading the text or doing something. But that's a difficult law to enforce, a texting law. I mean, it really is. Mm-hmm. Other agencies, I've looked at what some of the other agencies have done, and they actually have put 2 officers in a larger truck where one's driving, the other one's sitting up high, they can look down into a car. We may attempt doing some of that. You know, see if we can catch some.
Thank you very much.
Measure Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Chief, one thing that doesn't get much acclaim is the School Resource Officer Program, and I can tell you from firsthand that that's very valuable. And you never hear about it unless something bad happens, but there's so many times they might diffuse a situation that nobody ever finds out about. That is very, very helpful. So, and we've got 3 very good ones in the county.
We do. We have very good ones.
Yes.
And you're right about diffusing problems.
Yes.
The other thing I like about it is if something comes up with one of the kids, they have good enough contacts with them that they can get the information pretty quickly. Works well.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
Judge.
Next item on our agenda today is the bid opening for the mini dump truck, and County Treasurer Melissa Horn will have those. First bid is from, well, it's somebody in Columbus, Ohio here. What is that? Reichert, maybe? Reichert Ford. Looks like $62,690. The next bid is J. Edinger and Son in Louisville. $14,889. I know, we talking about the same thing? Wanna look at
That's the
that?
bid only, Judge.
Huh?
That is the bid only. We had a dealer, well, it wasn't even a Ford dealer, call up and say, if we get you the truck, will Edinger put the bid on it? So Edinger submitted a bid for the bid, and that's what that is right there.
Okay,
It doesn't sound like a very feasible situation, but the road department will make that call along with Melissa.
all right.
What was that price again?
Well, that was $14,889. Okay, I guess for body, hoist, and hydraulics. Could that be right? Options in the, is that it?
It's everything except the cab and chassis.
Stainless steel.
Any more? Or is that something else? All right, Wes?
Are we interested then in trying to
One
get a
bid?
chassis bid from somebody else?
No, I mean, that was an option, and nobody, tried to do that. So I don't think that's a very viable option.
May I speak? Good afternoon. If we were gonna try to go the route with just a cab and chassis, we couldn't find what we wanted, and we would have to order an 18 to 19, and they're not building trucks, so it's not gonna happen.
Is that one that's already on the lot?
Yes, it's ready to go, and it's everything we want.
You mean this Reichert Ford is?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Because it looks like it's gonna be another 2 to 3 weeks before they're building trucks.
At least. And we talked to a state dealer here in Kentucky, and they told us we couldn't get one in this fiscal year anyway. They're so far behind. So that was the best option. Cheaper option too. And they're gonna deliver the truck. We don't have to go get it.
Okay. Mr. Greenwell, you,
That looks to be our best and only option, for that matter. So I'd make a point at this time, I'd go ahead and make a motion that we accept this bid.
Second.
moved and seconded, we accept the bid from Reichert Ford, Columbus, Ohio, for the mini dump truck at $62,690. All right. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All
Thank
right,
you.
here you go.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
if there were a lot of trucks available, we would have had a lot more bids, but they're just scarce, especially that size and that model. And so there's just not very many of them out there.
It's hard to believe you can't find the product, but they're not out there,
That speaks for the economy, I think.
I think. Yes, right. Things are booming quite a bit. Okay, we'll go on now to the bid opening for the salt, road salt. We put out a public notice here for 2,500 tons, and see who bid on that. Morton Salt, $75.42 per ton.
Is that delivered?
Do you want to look, I think it is. I don't
Yes.
see the word delivered, doesn't jump right off the page here, but I believe it is. But we're not going to go get it, I don't think. Yeah, we gotta go get it, I use our bitty dump truck. $80.84 delivered from Compass Minerals. The next one is from Cargill. And it is, read these things to see it here. Okay, no bid from Cargill. Okay. Here you go.
Judge, a question.
Yes, sir.
Nothing from Detroit? Any idea how much salt we used last year, round number?
At least 2,200
Okay.
tons. Building's probably less than a little half full, where we started out last year with a full dome, because year before we only went out twice.
Yeah, we have some in there. We've got some left, so. Thank you. You want to make a motion on that, or you want to think about
Yes,
it?
I think so at this time, Judge. We'll
Right.
go ahead and accept the bid from Morton for $75.42 a ton for 2,500 tons.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we accept Morton's bid at $75.42, was it, or what was it?
That's what I wrote down, $75.42,
All right,
How many tons?
correct?
2,500.
25, okay. Discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item is the county administration, that'd be the bills to be paid for the previous 2-week period.
Judge, I move we pay the payables.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Does anybody have a question or discussion on any of these? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. On community business, we're going to discuss now, we're going to have a public hearing, and this public hearing has to do with local government assistance funds. And Melissa, are you on for this? It's on the, should it not be on the agenda? Is that, you know,
Oh, it's part of the budget process, so no, it needs to be, you just need to hold a hearing. You just need to open up the floor for public comment.
Right, we open up the floor for anyone that wants to make comments about the county road aid, how that money is going to be spent, or the local government economic assistance funds.
okay, we're not going to mention the amounts or that we received or how we plan to spend it previously?
It's not required. It's just, we just have to have public comment.
Okay. Anybody here would like to talk about county road aid or local government assistance funding? Okay. You state your name and address.
Shelley Ernst, 13201 Wellington Way, Goshen, Kentucky. Thank you for taking my question. I am a little taken aback that we're going to spend some money and nobody's going to tell us what it's going to be spent for. Is that what I just heard?
No, that's not what you heard. These funds were part of the budget, correct, Melissa?
This is an opportunity for citizens to express possible uses for the county road aid. It's not for us to say what we're going to use the money for. It's for them to give input into how they want to see the money spent.
Okay,
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
right. Right, we do receive funds from the state for road work in the, I guess, you know, this is to allow people, if you have a stretch of road you think needs, it's county road. County roads are only those with a number on them. Excuse me, without a number. State roads are the roads with the numbers. And a lot of people get those confused. But we every year evaluate the streets in the county and have a marking system to determine which streets we feel are most appropriate to be repaved. And so it's irrespective of magisterial district. But we are asked by the state to take public comment on any roads that people would like to talk about. So I don't think there's anybody here that really came prepared to talk about any roads, but we do get comments frequently anyway. So I'll close that public hearing now and go on to the next item on the agenda. That's the waste tire grant for 2018-19. Becky.
Thank you, Judge. I'm asking the fiscal court to allow the judge to sign the waste tire grant application. We apply for this every year. It's a $4,000 flat amount with no match, and it's we use it to dispose of waste tires that are either brought to the recycling center or that we find on the side of the road. And we also make this available for farmers, for agricultural tires.
Judge, I'd like to make that motion to allow you to sign this grant for
Second.
$4,000.
Okay, moved and seconded that we go ahead and apply for the waste tire grant for 2018-19. It's $4,000 from the state up to that amount. We match that, and that is for tires that are turned in or picked up and gotten out of circulation.
Yes.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. The next item we're going to discuss has to do with a supplemental agreement for the Ring Road project, or also known as LaGrange Parkway.
That's correct, sir.
And there's Jim Urban's here.
Good afternoon, Judge, Magistrates. I'm here asking Fiscal Court to allow the judge to sign the documents related to this supplemental agreement number 2. Ring Road was the original name of the project. It's also known as LaGrange Parkway, and that's what it'll be named when it's open. These are, it's $138,000 in reimbursable funds from the Transportation Cabinet related to the environmental mitigation from the construction of the roadway. And I'll take any questions.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded that we accept the supplemental agreement from KYTC regarding LaGrange Parkway. Does anybody have any questions for Jim? Magistrate, guess we'll go right down the line. Magistrate Likens?
Thank you, Judge. I see this writing that says, no additional funds will be provided for the project. All costs in excess of $138,000 will be the responsibility of the county. What exactly is the environmental mitigation effort? I don't know what that is and what kind of monies that would cover.
These funds are going to be particularly used for mitigation of the impacts in what's called perennial stream 2A and intermittent stream 21A. Those are where the pond used to be out on the piece of property, and this is a payment in lieu of paying impact fees for construction of the roadway. And it is the $138,000 is based on an estimate we got from our consulting firm, Red Wing. They looked at the mitigation plan, and then they estimated the cost for doing mitigation. And if it goes over the $138,000, then it would be up to us to pay any differences when we actually put it out for bid, because we'll have to bid that. The county will be responsible for bidding that because it's not inside the road right-of-way. There's during one of the Oldham meetings, the Wilburn Trust has agreed to pay up to $2,500 if the cost goes over by a little bit. So we anticipate that it won't cost any county funds, given that this is based on an actual estimate from people that do this kind of work all the time.
All right, who is next? Magistrate Greenwell?
Thank you. I guess I'm a little confused as to why the Wilburn Trust would help us with the mitigation cost overruns.
Well, one of the people responsible for some of those funds is on the Oldham board and when we were discussing, again, the estimate and then the monies coming from the cabinet, we said, well, it's a fine line between an estimate and do you go over by, and that offer was just made at an Oldham board meeting. So I don't know how it relates, other than that was put on the table.
And my second comment is, when is the projected finish date for this project?
Well, the date of completion was supposed to be in June of this year, so coming up next month. There have been some changes to the project, and the most noticeable one is along Kentucky 53 south of Blakemore Lane. There's an embankment there, and the ground was already starting to slump because of the slope. And of course, we had a lot of rain, which didn't help us, and the bank hadn't been stabilized, so they got in and they graded the dirt, and they actually put geotech fabric and rock down there. There were a couple of other areas inside the parkway that were also done the same way. I keep asking what the date is, and it's sometime shortly after the end of June. At this point, they are grading for the 10-foot wide shared use path, and that's on the, I'll call it the inside radius of LaGrange Parkway. So it'll be on one side. They're doing all the sodding and filling inside, like the traffic islands. Once they get all that done, then it'll be paving of all the roadways. So they've got a lot of work to do. As long as we don't have too much rain, they're out there working to try to deliver it as soon as possible. But it'll be in the next couple of months.
We're not allowed access in there, or at least not very easily. Are they working on the New Moody Lane end of it that I'm not seeing? Because I'm not seeing anything at all except for the mitigation work that they did.
They started at the towards the interstate side, so the New Moody Lane area, and they're working towards 53 to do all that.
Okay.
I was out there one day last week, and they're not quite halfway on the shared use path, but they're working in that whole area, grading, and then they'll put in that shared use path again. Do all the sod is being laid, and I've got pictures if you want to see them on my cell phone. I can share with you.
Who's next? Anybody have anything? Magistrate Dye?
Magistrate Greenwell, I have a video of, I can show you what he's talking about on that slumping of the road. I want to commend Jim, because Jim was very intricate in some of these negotiations on this because of the impact fees. It was not, how can I say this, Jim? It wasn't easy to bring that money out of the coffers at KYTC.
Right.
It was very tenuous at the time. I'm on the Oldham board, as you know, and it was touch and go, but Jim did a great job.
Well, thanks. And the budget is real tight on that overall project, and we're going to get a really nice project out of it. The roadway is going to be fantastic once it's completed.
Anyone else? All right, it's been moved and seconded that I sign this agreement with KYTC. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved.
Great. Thank you, Judge.
The next item we're going to discuss has to do with another supplemental agreement with the Transportation Cabinet. This one for the 329 bypass project. Belinda.
Yes, this is a supplemental agreement with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for Phase 2 design of the Kentucky 329 bypass improvement project in the amount of $108,000 in federal funds, requiring a local match of $27,000. And we're asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign all of the documents associated with the agreement.
Judge, I'll make a recommendation, please.
Second. there any discussion on this project? Mention Likens?
Talking a lot today. We have a 20% match on this
Yes.
grant. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. All right, thank you. Now we have Melinda and Jim would like to present information about an ADA transition plan that we are expected to have.
Right. This is a resolution adopting an Americans with Disabilities Transition Plan for Oldham County. Every local government with more than 50 employees is required by federal law to establish a transition plan. The transition plan will establish an ADA coordinator, a grievance procedure, a public notice procedure, and a process for self-evaluation of county facilities, and then how we will plan to move forward to remove any barriers we discover to accessibility for county residents.
Second.
Discussion? Plan to appoint our Deputy Judge, Kevin Nuss, to be the ADA coordinator for the county. I would like to recommend one change here on page 2 under self-evaluation. I would like to change the wording of that slightly. It says we're going to undergo a self-evaluation regarding services and activities to ensure that all public buildings, parking lots, and public right-of-way are accessible and usable by persons with disability. I'd like to change the term public right-of-way to simply accessible routes. It's a little broader term. Okay.
I'd like to add something to that.
Okay.
Accessible routes, which may or may not include sidewalks.
May or may not is a subjective evaluation that I think our engineering department would be uncomfortable with.
Well, we have to include, well, sidewalks have to be somewhere in there.
Well, accessible route is a pretty broad term, covers a lot of non-specifics, but accessible routes. They like that term better down there.
Who's they?
Scott.
All right, we'll find out.
This document, was this something we drew up or we were given?
Belinda really, I got to give her all the credit for doing all the research and looking at communities our size and even bigger and coming up with a plan that's fairly simple that meets the requirements. So really Belinda did that from research.
Pardon? It is required, right. And we do
Federal
need this is a transitional plan for us to get in and start to evaluate our properties and to see what, what we may need to do to make them more accessible.
I think some of this, maybe this parlays into the, what the building committee is doing with some of the county-owned buildings. And it might be something that during the self-evaluation program, when you find stuff, come back to the building committee. So it may be something that we're already looking at, or we should be looking at.
Right, and I think the county is already doing its very best to make all of our facilities accessible. But according to the law, we just have to do this evaluation where we look at everything and then make a plan about how we will remove any barriers we find over time. It doesn't have to be done immediately, but yeah, we would definitely work in tandem with them.
Because we're working on a few other projects, or we hope to be working on a few other projects, and we may be better to work side by side instead of different directions. Of course.
Measure die.
Would it be a fair comment to say that this is an extension of what they've done in the incorporated areas, where you see the cities, specifically Louisville, I think Crestwood's done it, I don't know about Pee Wee Valley, where they've put the ramps on the sidewalks, reworked them and all that? Because I know it was a big push in the incorporated areas, but I guess now they're reaching out into unincorporated.
Yeah, ramps would definitely be part of it, yes.
Anyone else? All right, motion's been made and seconded that we go forward with this ADA transitional plan with substitute wording for right-of-way to accessible route. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we're going to deal with is today are grants, and that'd be Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. The Grants Committee met today. We have $75,000 in our total budget under the Bequest Fund, item 5330507. We met today and would like to offer the following recommendations for the disbursements of the monies that we have left in that budget item. Those being, I think they were passed out to everyone on court, but I'll read those for the viewers that may not have them. We recommend $5,000 to the American Red Cross, $2,000 to Big Brothers Big Sisters, $2,000 to CASA, C-A-S-A, $5,000 to the Creasy Mahan Nature Preserve, $2,365 to the Crossroads Pregnancy Resource Center, $5,000 Dare to Care, $5,000 Hope Health Clinic, $10,000 to the Oldham County Community Foundation, and $5,000 to Operation Parent. Those items totaling $41,365, which equals the amount that we have budgeted for these expenditures.
Second.
I would like to make that motion that we approve these expenditures.
All right, motion made and seconded that the expenditures listed be approved. Any discussion? Mr. Greenwell?
Did I not hear a figure of 75,000 just a minute ago?
Yes.
Did that pass over my head or what?
Oh, that 75 was the amount in the line item, but 41, 230, 65 or whatever was the amount left. 30,000 went to the Tri-County Community Action Agency, and I've forgotten what.
There's a Messinette.
There was a Messinette was
10,000 was Compass.
2,500. There was the balance was already allocated out earlier this year. This is for the balance of this year.
For 2017.
17, 18. This is 17, 18.
Did that other amount come before the court to vote on?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
It was a way long time ago,
okay.
but part of that is and Tri-County gets, every year we fund them, and then we also agreed to put money toward the salary of a court drug worker. Remember that was part of that. And then we voted on the mezzanette here. You remember when that was
Okay.
brought up? So. And I've forgotten what the other, there was a small amount for something else, $1,000 or something. It just happened about a year ago is why. Seems like a long time. This is carried on for the balance of this year. All right. Is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. How many noes do we have? Motion carries 7-2. Next item, personnel actions. Ms. Shaw?
Judge, one more.
Pardon?
One more. Marijuana.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. At F subsection 2, the marijuana,
That's correct.
go ahead.
The reason I wanted to bring this to court is a month ago in Public Safety Committee, we had some people who came in and wanted us to go to Frankfurt and say yes to medical marijuana and for marijuana for personal use. After they went to public safety, then they came here to the court and expressed their desire for us to make a proclamation or something in favor of that. We did not do that. And today, we had a public safety meeting, and I wanted to hear the other side of the coin. But prior to the meeting today, I received a video from Liz Burrows at the Health Department in reference to someone who is a true expert on the subject. It's approximately an hour long. And when you see that, and hear what he's talking about, it's an unbelievably horrible phenomenon. And we discussed this in the Public Safety Committee, and I'm coming with a recommendation for Fiscal Court, and I hope everybody here agrees with me. We are not medical individuals. We do not know the first thing about medical issues. But after listening to this video, listening to Liz Burrows as she gave her discussion, and also listening to the other people who are very pro, the pro people forgot quite a few things that I think were really of great significance. And if everybody on Fiscal Court could see this video, I would really highly recommend it. So it is the position of the Oldham County Public Safety Committee that these issues should be solved at the Federal Drug Administration. It shouldn't be a fiscal court. After all, it's still illegal in the country. And so everybody on in the Public Safety Committee agrees that it should be the FDA and not us to do it. And so we're asking you to please go along with our position on this. That's what I have.
Is that video available to be shown publicly? If you provide us with a copy of it, we'll be happy to put it on Channel 184. And please, we'll ask you to come to the podium to address the court. And I'll have you state your name and address, even though we all know who you are.
I am Liz Burrows. Thank you for inviting me up here. My address is 2005 Crooked Creek Court, Crestwood, Kentucky. I'm Health Department Tobacco Control Coordinator, Substance Abuse Prevention Coordinator, any other hat that they decide to put on me that day. But the video that Magistrate Leslie is talking about is actually a videotape of Ed Shamalia, who is with ONDCP, the Office of National Drug Control Policy, who came to our coalition meeting. Some of you saw him in person, so you've already seen what he had to say. But it is on the Oldham County Fiscal Court YouTube channel. So they can go on that and see it on the YouTube channel. I can send out a link to it as well. I do want to say one of the things he talks about is that the FDA recently, a panel approved for recommendation a drug called Epidiolex, which is a CBD-based drug. So we're excited that there is research happening and that there are drugs coming through the FDA process that could potentially benefit people. So it's one of the things that he talked about is that they are doing some research on it. We certainly need some more research on it, but I would encourage you, if you weren't able to come see him or if you haven't watched it already, to watch that.
You say it's, if you go to Oldham County Fiscal Court on YouTube, you will find over 300 productions that we have, and you said that is on the channel. You may have to search for it a little bit, but I didn't know it had been put up there yet, but I'm happy to have it run on Channel 25, I mean 184. We used to be Channel 25, but they switched us without our agreement, but they switched us to 184. So, but we're happy to try to promote any positive health information. And
thank you so much.
maybe turn it, is it the other way,
Upside down, or
wrong
which way
way?
do I go? I'm sure I'll get it on there upside down. Oh, yes. So this is the prescription medication. Right now, it's being used for certain epileptic disorders, but it's anticipated that it will be approved by the entire FDA in June of this year. So yes, we need more research into this. I'm really glad the research is happening and it's going through the FDA process. That ensures that the drugs that are provided are effective, that the risks are understood and known, and the dosages are appropriate for what it's treating.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Video that Ms. Burrows is speaking of, there were a couple of magistrates that attended that at the health department. It is very informative. The gentleman knows his data and knows his topic very well. He struggled sometimes with his visual aids, which was kind of funny. He said he'd take the video back to his son and or his grandson and have him fix it. But the information was very good, and it would be worth an hour's time to watch and try to take the pieces and parts that he gave you and understand it, because he threw out a lot of information in an hour's period of time.
In the past, we've been asked to support a resolution or provide a resolution to the legislature about supporting medical marijuana distribution in Kentucky. We're out in the deep water when it comes to that subject, and our ability to judge it as people. None of us are medically trained individuals, and we certainly want to listen to the pain and anxiety that some people say that this product solves for them, but on the other hand, we don't want to go down the wrong path either. So, and it's not approved by the FDA. There are physicians on both sides of this issue, and it's very difficult to sort out. The American Medical Association has not approved medical marijuana, and so we're sympathetic to try to solve problems for people. We don't want to create a new problem in the process. So thank you, Magistrate Leslie.
You're quite welcome.
Ms. Schaaf, would you like to go forward now with our next item on the agenda? It has to do with personnel actions.
Yes, good afternoon. We have several items on here. The first one is animal control, a promotion for Polly Helton, actually appointing her the animal control director at $280.64, effective tomorrow, the 15th. Today, the 15th, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded that Polly Helton be promoted from acting to a permanent animal control director. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Judge,
I
do you
think
want
you
to
can take
Okay.
everybody at the pool as a unit.
Okay, we do have we have a building monitor, Kaylee Harden, at $7.40 an hour, effective tomorrow. And then the rest of the pool staff that we have listed there in those positions at those rates, as illustrated.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the Parks and Rec be able to bring on the aquatic staff for the season, and also a new building monitor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
The next item is a new hire, Officer Demetrius Lindsay. He's coming to us from Frankfurt as a 3-year lateral. His base hourly rate is $23.73, and that would be effective on the 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Then we have a dispatcher, Zach Wilt, as a telecommunicator 1 at $15.38 per hour, and that would be effective June 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Now, the last one is Planning and Development Services. We have a new hire, Jennifer Shields, as Admin Assistant 2, $15.40 per hour, effective the 21st.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Discussion on Jennifer? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to recommend now a person to the Code Enforcement Board. This is a replacement individual. As you know, we had a person on the board pass away earlier this year, and so I'd like to appoint Ron Kaiser of Goshen to that position to replace Joe Rafferty. This would be, appointment would be until June 18th of 2019. I think Ron is particularly well qualified. He's a former assistant chief of the engineering department for the Army Corps of Engineers. He has been on the Code Enforcement Board when he lived in Middletown, and is very familiar with how Code Board works, and so I think he'll be a good addition to this board.
I'd like to make that motion, Judge.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. We're at the point in the meeting here where we have a opportunity for a second public comment for anyone who's come in or would like to address the fiscal court. Since the meeting began, you're welcome to do so now. A pretty quiet group here today, so we'll go on to I'm going to ask the magistrates while we have people here if they have any announcements they would like to make because our next item is executive session. I don't expect it to take too long, but generally when we come back after executive session, most of the people here are gone. So if anyone has something they'd like to announce now, it'd be a good time. Magistrate Logston?
The 329 is supposed to be finished before the 19th, so hopefully it will. And just please remember to get out and vote next Tuesday.
And should I?
I'll ditto that.
Magistrate Eldridge?
I want to thank Chief Smith for his update today. It's always good to hear from him. We appreciate the job that he does. And I will echo next week is the vote. Make sure you can get out there. Thank you so much.
Magistrate Hounds?
Finally, Old Floydsburg Road has been repaved. Much needed. The pothole was past pothole repair. And they got it taken care of, I believe, yesterday. Asked for people to watch your speed on that road. It's easier now to go fast because it's a smooth surface, but try to keep your speed at 25 miles an hour. And same with the rest of the magistrates. May 22nd, get out and vote.
Magistrate Greenwell?
Thank you, Judge. The phantom phone book dropper is at it again. I weighed this last night. It weighs 1.5 pounds. How many households are there in Oldham County, Judge?
I think around 16,000.
Magistrate Eldridge, with your brilliant math skills, how many pounds is that? 24,000 pounds. That'd be 12 tons, I believe, of these phone books that nobody wants or cares about. And sometimes if it's a house that nobody lives in, they lay there for 3 and 4 months. I would ask the court's permission and blessing to get John Carter to write a letter to that publishing company signed by John Carter, the judge, and Chief Smith, and tell them please not ever drop another one here again, if it's legal to do so.
All right.
We should do that because
Do
Mr.
we have
Carter's
any
not here.
Oldham County advertising in it somewhere?
I'm sure there are, but
I know it is irritating. They just throw them out anywhere.
it's littering. I mean, where else?
It's a
can you-
form of solicitation.
Well, then there's many neighborhoods that say no solicitation allowed, and yet they throw them down on the ground. You can tell I'm on a little warpath here, and I am.
I'm right with you. And by the way, they recycle for 3 cents a pound.
All right, how about if we refer that to the Environmental Committee for a meeting, or do you want, if you can get a second today, we can take a vote.
I'll make
I
the
don't
motion.
know.
That, or we can,
Second that.
we can send them to your house, Steve, and you can take them in to recycle.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Could I see that for just a second, please? Okay.
You will have.
I'm sure I do.
I got two.
But,
Yes, one's good, two's better.
Plastic bag, so it has a longer life as opposed to just throwing it out there next to the mailbox.
first thing that comes out is Popeyes here. We don't have a Popeye in Oldham County. Tom Drexler works here, but I understand your irritation. I think this is essentially a Jefferson County book. They say it's friendly, friendly phone book here, Jefferson and Oldham counties.
Does it have cell phone numbers in it now?
Pardon? I don't know. There aren't any. Looking to see if Steve Greenwell's name's in it here. I'll see if my name is in it. Just a second here. Yes, I'm actually in the phone book. Well,
DOE.
well, my name is in the phone book. It happens to list an insurance business I was in 15 years ago. It says I'm at 9300 Shelbyville Road, which is inaccurate. Long time gone. So, okay. I mean, we could certainly look into the legality of it. But, do you have any comment, Mr. County Attorney? Biden, no comment. Is this illegal? Would you advise for or against it? I mean, I don't know. Is Steve Greenwell in here? Let's just see here.
While the judge is looking for that, my second comment today is I applaud the efforts of the people that are running for office that asked for and got permission to put signs up in people's yards. And I admonish the people that just went out and stuck them in the right-of-ways. That's not correct. It shouldn't be done.
This, you didn't make the grade here. I hate to tell you this.
I'm sorry?
You didn't make the cut.
All right.
You know, a lot of this has to do with Fern Valley Road and First Street, and this appears to be more Louisville. I don't really see anybody, I don't see anybody listed from Oldham County here. All these prefixes are possibly Prospect, but I don't even see that.
Are you looking in the business or the residential section?
I'm looking at residential.
Okay.
I mean, this is all about business, I understand that, but really, people don't even have residential numbers anymore, so.
And you can recycle that plastic bag too, if you take that to Kroger.
Well, okay, we have a motion on the floor to have our county attorney, I guess we'd have to say if this is is it legal to prohibit advertising from being, the fact is that the Courier Journal is tossed out on your driveway or any place else they feel like it when they go by too.
Two different things.
No, but.
Nuisance.
Oh, no. Okay, well, let's take an expression of the court to see if we have any alternative to do something, to communicate to this company that, you know, we don't appreciate the distribution of this product.
Judge, you do realize they're not the only company that does this.
Right, I don't know. They accumulate from somewhere.
Living out on the county line, I get 2 or 3 of those from different vendors.
I promise you, Magistrate Dye, the next time I see another one, I'll get it also.
But I don't want it.
And bring their name forward.
Okay.
Here's a whole list of fire departments, and not a single one of them is in Oldham County. Police departments, not a single one of them is in Oldham County.
And you pay the bill to get in this book?
Well, okay, we have a motion to try to communicate our displeasure with this book and to ask them not to distribute it any further in the county. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank
I
you.
heard about 5 ayes, and I didn't hear any opposition, but I'll assume silence is assent. Motion carries 9-0. Okay. Now who was next? Your Measure Leslie?
Yes, thank you, sir. On May 22nd, we will have an election, and many of the people that are running will win on that day. I'm not running again, but it's been an honor to be here for 16 years. There are 3 people that are running for this position. I am not endorsing anybody. I have not talked to anybody by calling them, and none of them have called me. It is my position with these people. It's their duty to get out to the citizens whatever their positions are, and hopefully they will. I have not seen anything from any of the candidates, so I don't know what their position is on anything. Also, when I've run in every campaign, it's always been positive. I have never talked about anybody who ran against me. I never even used my opponent or anything. My father taught me many years ago, if you cannot say something that's positive about yourself, then don't talk about anybody else. He says, because that's how you're going to be judged, being positive. So that's what I did. When I came, I had certain issues which I wanted to address. And with the luck of many things that have turned my way, and also the hard work of the magistrates, Judge Murr, Judge Vogel, and Senator Harris, a lot of things have happened to help me project my ideas into reality. So I appreciate that very much. I know almost everybody that's running for different offices in the county. And there are two people that I feel that absolutely deserve to be put into office again the next time around. That would be Steve Sparrow. I've seen his message. It's been a positive message, and he's also done a good job for the citizens of this community. I know Steve Kalen. He's an outstanding individual. He knows what he's doing and has always been an up-and-up individual. Also, have to say, I know Dave Pendleton. Some time ago, when our coroner left, he called me and asked me about the position. And I said, well, give me some information on yourself. And he did. And I reviewed the information. And he says a lot of different things, a lot of different classes that he's been to. And he has been the coroner that we appointed to take Brett Donner's place. I believe Dave Pendleton should be put back in office. So those are three candidates that I feel are outstanding individuals. They've been doing a good job for the county, and I believe all three should be put back into office. Thank you.
Manager Tice.
Let's see how I can follow that. Number one, Bob, I assume you're going to be with us for at least another 6 months, so we'll thank you at another point in time for your service, and we do appreciate that. Also, as we went through our meeting today, we heard from a lot of our employees, and it's just as outstanding, the amount of hardworking, dedicated employees we have, and just wanted to say thank you to them. Don't think we can say that enough. It helps make our job easier. Thank you.
Manager Likens.
Thank you, Judge. I just wanted to say if the garbage has not passed yet at my house, I know what Magistrate Greenwell is getting for Christmas this year.
I'm going to mention earlier the signage. A lot of signs around the county were mentioned for political activity. Signs are supposed to be put on private property and not on public property. We've bent a little bit here in this primary season because where private property and public property runs along some streets, roadways, it's a little confusing. We've tried to be fair to everyone, ask that we not have any postings on public property other than the right-of-way. There's been a proliferation of signs everywhere. Those signs are really, we've looked the other way. The elections, everybody's had a chance to be treated equally, and I believe fairness is something that, as a group here, we want for the community, and the community deserves as well. So we've tried to be fair to everyone so that no one felt that they were slighted in any way. Nevertheless, private property is really where signs belong. I would like to mention again that the police memorials tonight at 7 o'clock at Grange Baptist Church. We honor our local officers by being concerned and reverent in the face of their fellow officers who have lost lives in every state across the country. So we, appreciate our police. We're not always in agreement with everything that happens, just because if I'm stopped for speeding, I would like to think it wasn't my fault, but when I think about it, it probably was. So I appreciate all of our 31 officers. I appreciate the chief. I think we have a tremendous police department in our county. We have also a tremendous sheriff's department in our county, and the LaGrange Police. We salute them as well as another excellent agency. So all of them work together well to provide a safeguard for all of us here in our community. We live in a very lucky community. We don't have some of the problems that are elsewhere. But we still have our share of issues that come up more than you'd ever imagine unless you listen to the police radio. But they are out there and they do their job. They do it well, and I appreciate all of them. So thank you very much. So we're going to go into executive session now. There won't be any action taken after executive session. This is an informational session I've asked for, but appreciate all of you coming here. You're welcome to stay to the end, but that there won't be any further activity today. Can we make a motion now? We go into executive session.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.